Hi, and welcome to History 311, Gender and History. I am Instructor Driver, and I will be guiding you through this very short but very intense course. What you have before you is our homepage, as it were, and I wanted to pull it up so that you could see effectively how it looks, what we're doing. The very first thing you'll see, of course, are the recent announcements, what's going on. And of course, this week I've high-loaded you with a lot of things. In fact, let's go to the announcement page and I'll show you some of what this is. Because this is the first week of class and we have all of the here are things you need to know kind of posts, I call them reference. And these are all different ones that we provide so that you have some sense of what you're going to need to know for the course. The late policy for discussion post, 10% per day for up to 3 days. I encourage you, if there's a reason why you can't get things posted by Thursday, and I understand there's a lot, you'll have a minimum of 2 discussions a week between the main discussion and the learning activity discussion. Let me know, preferably before they're due. I'm a lot more amenable to extending deadlines if you let me know and acknowledge that you have a deadline and that there's a problem, that you're going to miss it. Let me know beforehand. That's always much more helpful than letting me know 2 or 3 days after the fact. Because this is a high-level course in the sense that this is a course that, while open to anybody, is one that is required for history majors. There's a big deal made about historical method in this course. And of course, plagiarism and citation. These are 2 things that are extremely important, particularly in an online school. So we take them very seriously. If you don't understand what plagiarism is, I encourage you to please read this post. I would require, though, that you read this one, When and How to Cite, because this is far more in line with you understanding that citation is necessary at any time at the end of any sentence where you've used information from another source, whether you are quoting it, in which case obviously it's in quotation marks, quotes being things that are directly from another source, or whether you're paraphrasing. If you are writing something that you read somewhere but putting it in your own words, then you still have to cite. You have to give credit to the person who actually came up with that idea or put it in terms that you understand. So citation is extremely important, both in quoting and in referring to knowledge you got anywhere else, and you'll be getting a lot of knowledge from other places. The third time that citation is necessary is anytime you're using something that is not common knowledge. So even though you may be reading the textbook, doing the same thing that everybody else in the course is doing, you must assume that they don't know this either, and therefore it must be cited. This course has recently been revised. So if you've taken the course before, attempted the course before, there are going to be some different things you're going to be doing this time. The point of these, the context posts, are where I give you some sense of what I see in the course and what we're looking to do. They're also really good because they'll give you some idea of how I expect citation to look and be. For this course, you're allowed to use APA. Which is a shift. Most of the time, this has been a Chicago manual course, but you can use APA, which is basically, again, at the end of any sentence where you're using information from another source. You open your parentheses, you put the author's name, the date, and if it's a book, the page number. And then, of course, you have your works cited where you give the full citation for whatever it is that you are doing. So I want to take you now to a couple of other things over here in your sideline. The course policies, I realize you're only seeing policies right there, but that's a good place to go for looking at where things are expected of you, how to perform. The modules, which is literally right here under the syllabus, you need to read the syllabus, you need to go to the modules, and when you click on the modules, you'll actually see a Start Here section, and you're going to need to go there first. It's going to give you the basic outline of the course, what we're doing, what you need to start with, and the course calendar down here, which is going to tell you when everything is due. As I mentioned, and I love this, it breaks it down by weeks. Your first week, you have to do your poster introduction on the first day. Then you've got the actual full discussion forum and your self-reflection. And this course, like I said, it's been remodeled so that now you have a quiz in the first week in which you basically have to identify and learn the difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. For your final paper, you're going to be required to use a minimum of 2 primary sources, and by use, what we mean is directly refer to them, use quotes from them to support your ideas, and of course cite them correctly, and 6 secondary sources, including your textbook. So the way the course is designed is that each week in each of the top level discussions, the gender between ideal and lived experience, gender in early human history, gender in classical cultures, etc., you're going to be using the information from your textbook, but also a secondary source of your choosing. And this means a journal article or a book or some um, academic source to help you nail down the ideas for the final paper. Because 30% of your grade is based in that final paper, we literally start in the first week focusing on what you're going to do, which is why in the poster introduction, you need to look at the book itself, the textbook, read the introduction, and consider what time period and place you want to focus your research on. Now, this is literally a world history class. So we're going to be covering pretty much the entire world in some capacity and every culture that's been in it. So you get to pick and choose kind of when and where you want to focus. But the big thing you're looking for, of course, is gender. Now, gender does not mean by itself women's history. And in fact, the very first discussion, you're going to be discussing or incorporating into that discussion the seminal work by Joan Wallach Scott, in which she basically starts the whole gender in history discussion by targeting this idea of what we mean by gender. It is not sex, as the discussion will come up with, not biological sex, but it's how we perceive people. And in fact, one of the points in the Joan Wallach Scott essay is how gender is used historically. And that's going to be a big part of the focus of what we're looking at through the course. So straight up, you're going to need to identify, consider where you want to work, what you want to do, and start targeting all of your research in each of the discussions each week towards finding secondary sources you can use in that paper. So yes, this is a pretty intense course in terms of the amount of work you're doing, but there is a method and a madness to it. The process is designed to structure it so that you're not doing double research. If you nail down in the first week kind of where you want to go and what you want to focus on, it makes it much easier from that point to gather your sources as we're going. In week 3, you actually have to do a primary source analysis. So this will give you one of your primary sources for your final paper. And you have to give your final research paper proposal, which is effectively what we used to call an annotated bibliography. If you look at the requirements for that, it is basically where you identify not only what your sources are going to be, but you give a brief summation of the thesis of that source, what it intends to prove, the methodology that the author has gone about using in order to make and prove the argument, and then how you're going to use it in your paper. So literally by week 3, you should have nailed down where you want to be with your paper. Learning activity for week 4, elements of an academic history paper. This also is to help you nail down what you're going to have in yours. And then of course, week 5, the actual final research paper itself. So a lot to do in effectively a short time, but it is not impossible to do. It's accomplished every year. The big things again, Tuesday is the first day of each week, which means that on Thursday, your discussion posts, both your actual discussion forum and your self-reflection are due. And then week 7 is on Monday, which gives you Saturday and Sunday. If you are like most of us and have other things going on in your life, that gives you the weekend to actually work on the assignments for them. For each of your discussions, with the exception of the poster introduction, to which you need to respond to 3 of your peers. In all of the other discussion forums, it is 2. So pretty standard, straightforward in that respect. Rubrics are here. You can look at them to see how Each assignment, each discussion is graded, and I would encourage you to do so because I have to use those to grade you. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at that rubric and I'm going to say, okay, is this an A quality piece? Is this person going above and beyond? Is it a B where they meet all of the requirements? Is it a C where it's a basic response to what we're doing? Or is it worse than that? So in each of the rubrics, when you look at them, there you go. Well, here, the 2-point rubric for the introduction, general content, critical thinking, engagement participation, which is a big point. You need to be sure you get those responses into your peers. And then written communication itself, which has to do with citation, how well structured your argument is, how well you use the rules of grammar, and how well you actually write, how coherent your argument is. And these are pretty much, while this says the 2-point, this is basically the rubric for all of the discussions. It's just a matter of how they allocate the points to them. The other rubrics, as you can see, discussion point rubrics. And then for the actual assignments themselves, if you click on the assignments, it will show you all of them, including, if you go down here, week 5, your final paper. If you look at it, it's going to give you all of the things you need to do before you actually begin. In fact, I encourage you to look at this from the beginning because this is going to help you determine what kind of research you need to do, what kind of essays, secondary sources you need to use, and of course your primary sources. So lots of stuff in there to read and to consider. All right, as always, I am available pretty much anytime if you email me. And I encourage you to do so. I'll try to get to you as quickly as possible. I do teach in a couple of brick and mortar schools, so I am not always where I can access email, but I do try. I usually try to get back to you the same day. If not, it will be the next day. And that usually applies on weekends as well, even though, again, I encourage you, if you are going to be late with an assignment, if there's a problem, let me know as soon as you know, because that makes it easier. I am a little more flexible on the big assignments, the ones that are due on Monday, more so than on the discussions, because the discussions affect everybody. People have to have people to whom to respond. So if you're late posting your top post, that means that it's going to throw other people off on their peer comments. But for the most part, again, if you let me know, as soon as you know there's a problem, I'm usually very willing to work with you on those sorts of things. You may reach me at my University of Arizona Global Campus email, which is both in my introductory thing and in all of the announcements, and of course available through Canvas. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know, especially about the material. Again, this is actually an updated version of the Wisner-Hanks book. It came out literally just this summer, so brand new book. It's a slightly differently organized from the one we've used previously, which you'll see as you go along if you've had the course before or if you've attempted the course before. And again, some of the assignments are going to be a little bit different because with the remodeling of the course, we've now incorporated the Joan Wallach Scott essay into the first discussion instead of having a separate assignment on it. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. I look forward to your introductions, and I hope to see you all in the classroom by Tuesday. Thank you.